Dear learners, welcome you to another session of Research Methodology for Tourism and Hospitality Management. We have been discussing the process of doing review of literature. And in the last 3 sessions, you must have got an idea about how to look at a review of literature process, how to develop your strategy for writing reviews, and in today's class, we will be studying upon systematic process of review of literature. We will discuss the new developments or the formats in which review of literature is done. In the beginning of this lecture, we will discuss the forms of reviews. Then we will go with the specific form, Prisma, SPAR for SLR, meta-analysis, and at the end we will conclude with writing reviews. So before going into the slide, let me brief you the last discussion that we had on traditional reviews. In a traditional review, the researcher accesses the literature sources and arranges it according to the criteria that they developed on personal wisdom, and then develop a narrative writing style describing in general what is found in the literature. This is totally different from the systematic literature review process. Systematic literature review, popularly called as SLR, is widely used by research scholars, academicians and practitioners. It is one of the very accepted format of writing reviews. So in systematic review of literature, we can find one is domain based, that is structured, and the second one is framework based. Then the second type is theory based, method based, and the last two classifications, they are meta-analysis and meta-systematic analysis. I am referring to a very popular author, Justin Paul, along with other researchers, published a material published on SPAR for SLR, and this particular journal article give you this framework how to proceed with a systematic review of literature using SPAR for SLR. So once again, let us have a clarity on a traditional method. Here the researcher is going with own wisdom, and it is more a narrative review. But in systematic review of literature, we go with in a particular order that could be chronologically arranged or thematically or methodologically. So if we are looking at a chronology, seeing the history, development of the concept, and if you are going with the thematic, it should be related with certain issues and concepts, and if methodological means that include theories and concept. So there are two more subdivisions. One is called semi-systematic literature review. In semi-systematic literature review, the topics have already been conceptualized, but diverse disciplines will be accessed, and the reviewer who decides what article is relevant and the progress of the research over a period of time, and writing the review at the final stage. So in general, the method used by the researcher is content analysis. Content analysis or thematic analysis are a part of qualitative analysis. That means the content is studied in detail and themes are extracted from the content. So the second method here is integrative review. In integrative review, the literature is synthesized. How? Using own critical thinking or assessing the content of the literature. The purpose of doing integrative review is it enables the researcher to identify theoretical framework or perspectives. So it also helps the researcher to expand the theoretical foundation. And when we talk about SLR, systematic literature review, this is one of the meticulous and systematic view of doing the review. Here the researcher is assessing the content, synthesize the content and developing the theory as well as the perspective. So we can see the previous one was semi-systematic literature review, integrative review and systematic literature review, 3 different types. Now we have 3 different models. One is called PICO, PICO, second is called PRISMA, PRISMA, and the third one is called SPAR for SLR. So in PRISMA, the researcher is using a systematic way of identifying required number of articles through a number of steps, and it is a widely followed mechanism among science and social science researchers. It has 27 items that includes identification to reporting, how the researcher identify the articles, and stage by stage there are exclusions. That exclusions is very important. The researcher has to explain in each step how many articles are excluded, which may be because of ineligibility, duplication or other reasons. So stage 1 till the last stage, the researcher is meticulously arranging the literature, and a diagram, a flowchart is given in which starting from the beginning till the end, how many articles were included or how many articles were excluded. It is clearly given in the PRISMA diagram. So this particular diagram which you see in your screen, this is from a research of Akbar and Edelman-Bose, which present you a detailed PRISMA diagram. See, using a particular search query, they accessed 2 sources. One is Web of Science and second one is Scopus. And you can understand 1145 articles were retrieved and 675 were retrieved from Web of Science. And while you develop in the process, the researcher shortlisted 1820 articles. So in stage 1, there were some articles not useful, that is found to be duplicate or inappropriate, they were excluded. And in the second stage again, after going through the abstract, the researcher excluded articles. So you can find that in the next phase, the number of articles came down to 82. And from here again, the second level of exclusion process, they removed 21 articles and finally the researcher used 61 articles. So it is from 1820 to 61. It's a huge number change. So why the author changed? Why the author removed so many number of articles? There could be different reasons. And that reasons include, one is the year of publications, and second comes the topic which is relevant or not, then third comes the language, and next comes the choice. So all these points play a very important role while you are including articles for your literature review. Dear learners, let us once again quickly see how PRISMA work. PRISMA, PRISMA, if you search in Google, it will open a website in which even you can register your research topic. In science or medical science, you know, the researchers register a particular design or register a particular research work and they continue with. So in social science, normally this process is not happening. So in tourism is concerned, if you are doing a review of literature, first you identify the search key that we call keywords. That keywords are the important terms. With this you can extract research articles that we call Boolean, using and, or, including certain elements or excluding, giving conditions. We can search, use the popular or widely accepted resources, that is Web of Science or Scopus. Scopus we get a maximum articles which are peer reviewed. In Web of Science it will be further reduced, because Web of Science category, which include ESCI or SSCI, like different criteria are applied. Or you can use, as in the beginning, Google Scholar. There are other resources which we will be explaining in the coming slide. So when you extract the number of articles, you do not know whether this all will help you in your research work. So the stages of exclusion, it is the wisdom of again the researcher. I told you about the language, I told you about the year of publication. I need last 5 years, but I found a number of articles are of last 20 years before. I have to remove that. If I don't remove, that will impact my study. And then I need research articles. So at times you may find that book reviews, you may find that conference proceedings. So these things we have to keep away from our study. It is again the definition, what scope the researcher is making for the review of literature. In SPAR for SLR, Justin Paul recommends 3 different processes to shortlist the articles. Number 1 is assembling, number 2 is arranging, and number 3 is assessing. In Prisma, we found 27 item checklist. In SPAR for SLR, this is broadly categorized in 3. So assembling means what? Identifying the literature. So how you identify the literature? I told you have a research question and you have a keyword, and then you define the source type and the quality of the source and the domain of work. For example, I am talking about the source type. The literatures which are published in a particular area, that is social science citation index. Index means the research articles which have certain quality, that is indexed in social science citation index, or it is appearing as ABDCA or Q1, Q2. And then identify the literature is the first part of assembling. How you identify the literature? You have to identify a domain, then with the search query or the research question, you identify the literature published in that area, and here you ensure the quality. You are the person defining the quality of the research material. You have to justify the source quality when you are choosing a particular article. The acquisition of literature. The search period is very important here. Search mechanism matters, and the number of articles which are extracted, that matters. So these 2 points fall under assembling. The second process is arranging. Under arranging, there are 3 points to be noted. One is organizing codes, and the second one is organizing framework, inclusion and exclusion criteria. So how I look at my research literature? My focus is examining the theory and listing it separately, or my focus is identifying the outcomes. So if I am looking quantitative research, I have to pay attention to antecedents and dependent variables. So he proposed ADO framework would be one of the ideal one. ADO means antecedents, decisions and outcomes. TCM, theory, construct and method. So when these frameworks are used, you can exclude articles very easily. Those articles which are not having this particular framework adopted, you can exclude it. Assessing mean the way the particular content is presented. If you are looking for content analysis, you can include many articles. But if you are going for meta-analysis, only quantitative research articles have to be considered. Quantitative research means that research should include correlation regression analysis. The correlation results are compared in meta-analysis. Then comes the agenda proposed. Under agenda proposed, which we can think about the best practices and gaps, the way your work is reported. So, reporting pattern and limitations. So, these three different aspects have to be taken care if you are using SPAR for SLR. So, to make it easier, this particular design, the flowchart design by Paul is presented here. We can find there are different points he has mentioned. So, in the method part, while you are writing the method part, you have to mention all these things appropriately. So, let us go quickly about how to define the search term. It should be directly related to your research question, and the inclusion criteria again guided by the research question, and the quality of publications, which I said already, you may use Q1, Q2 or Q3 kind of categories, or you can think about publications under SSCI category. So, this will ensure that your work will keep the required standards. How to conduct the review? Conducting review is a very important part. It is not just a reading, it is also important what you understand from the reading. In the beginning, you may go through the titles, abstract and keyword. Then, if you find that the abstracts are useful for your work, then download the full article or access the full article. You can use academia, or you can use ResearchGate or social media platforms to reach out to the authors if you don't have access to such articles. So, once you get all the articles, you keep it in order and then your review process will start. So, we have different softwares which are helpful for you in review of literature. NVivo, Atlas TI, MaxQDA. These are the highly used softwares in academic field. These softwares help you to categorize different literature sources, and even the AI tools now, it help you to summarize the findings quickly. Now, all softwares are coming with the AI component, so that imagine you want to quickly get the summary of a research article area wise. You need conclusion summary, or if you need the method summary, very easily you can make it up using these AI tools. But remember, you cannot trust AI completely. You have to cross check manually whether the summary really reflect what you are looking for in the literature. So, when we use SPAR for SLR, we find different frameworks have been recommended by the authors. One of the framework which we found is ADO, Antecedents, Decisions and Outcomes. Second one is TCCM, Theory, Constructs, Context, Methods. Then 5W1H, that means starting from what, why, where, when, how, like addressing these questions. Researchers use this framework to extract required information from the research articles. So, do you find this is too much technical? Not at all. For a research scholar is concerned, doing literature review scientifically is very important. I don't recommend this for an undergraduate student. But if you are passionate to know about the research process, learning this will help you in developing your knowledge and progressing into the next level. The given sheet, this is an example I have given. You can think about developing a matrix like this. See, imagine you want to compare the theory concept, constructs and methods. Otherwise, you can use different parameters. You can create an Excel sheet or you can manually do it in your copy too, which talks about how different authors have proposed the theories in their research work, and you can highlight or flag wherever required. How you write the review? This is Australian National University Academic Skills website. They have given some tipping points to make your writing effective. So, known area, you can start these phrases like, it is clear that, for example, I am working on an area that is related to tourism impact. So, I am beginning my sentence, it is clear that tourism impact the society in large. Or next one is, the consensus is that. This shows the researchers, the past researchers, they come to a understanding and there is no disagreement in this. So, the term that we use is the consensus or well understood. To define the gap area, very important part for any researcher, we have to clearly specify gap area. How to present the gap area? There are few researches or studies conducted on this area. There is a gap existing, or despite of this advancement in the concerned research. And when we talk about implications, say writing implications with the following phrases, it will help you. It positively or negatively affect or need to be explored for future researchers are concerned, or to date what information is gathered so far. Let us conclude. Dear learners, what we discussed today is the technical part of literature review. We have seen traditional review of literature in the last lecture. I started with a semi-systematic review. Then we moved with a systematic literature review based on framework, and we have gone through different examples. By now you have got a clarity on how you can work on your research area and what particular approach is beneficial for you. This is up to you to decide upon what kind of mechanism that you like, ADO, TCCM, or you want to go with a traditional review of literature. If you want to publish your articles, or if you are looking for quality publications, go ahead with the latest researchers in this area. We started with Chris Hart, 1998. We have seen Creswell, who worked on literature review, and now we have new researchers like Justin Paul, who propose new models of review of literature. So, it is important to understand the developments in this area and adopt new mechanisms for the betterment of or value addition of your research. I hope you understood it. If you have any confusion, kindly let me know. Thank you for your patient listening. Thank you.